I can't think about a more irresponsible step, a more dangerous and explosive step than those stupid assassinations. They serve only one purpose: to try to lift the morale in Israel, to try to make Israelis a little bit more proud, and above all, to make the secret services who are responsible for those assassinations to feel more of a macho, more of a successful director for the next James Bond series, but nothing but this. Israel is not a safer place after the assassinations. On the contrary, the Middle East is not a safer place, and they contribute nothing. Not only they don't contribute, they are very, very dangerous.
What is the future facing the Palestinian people today? Is there any silver lining on the horizon for them, or is it really just bleak and dark?
Unfortunately, I cannot see any source of hope for them from any direction. You know, they tried everything. They tried diplomacy, they tried military struggle, they tried resistance, they tried boycotting, they tried obeying. They tried everything. The world is quite hypocritical about them, and the Arab world as well. They are divided like never before. They lack leadership. They have no leadership whatsoever. Most of the Palestinians lost any kind of trust and faith, neither in Hamas nor in Fatah. They are sick and tired. They know they have no one to protect. And an average Palestinian who lives today in Gaza or mainly in the West Bank knows that there is no one in the world who can protect it. Nothing.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. Has the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and the Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr created the potential for a wider and more worrying Middle Eastern conflict? That's one of the key issues I shall discuss today with my guest, who is one of the most highly regarded voices in Israel, the award-winning columnist of Haaretz newspaper, Gideon Levy. Mr. Levy, let's start with the killing of Ismail Haniyeh and the earlier killing of Fuad Shukr. Do you view these as important Israeli achievements that will weaken Hamas and Hezbollah, or as dangerous and unwise moves that could lead to a wider regional conflict?
First of all, it's nice to be with you again. I can't think about a more irresponsible step, a more dangerous and explosive step than those stupid assassinations. They serve only one purpose: to try to lift the morale in Israel, to try to make Israelis a little bit more proud, and above all, to make the secret services who are responsible for those assassinations to feel more of a macho, more of a successful director for the next James Bond series, but nothing but this. Israel is not a safer place after the assassinations. On the contrary, the Middle East is not a safer place, and they contribute nothing. Not only they don't contribute, they are very, very dangerous.
When this view is put to Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government, and I'm sure it must have been, how do they respond?
They always cover themselves with all kind of security excuses, which are totally hollow, and nobody can argue, because they will always tell you that they know things that you don't know, which not always is the matter of fact. And therefore, those who believe in Netanyahu believe that he did the right thing, and those who are a little bit more independent in their way of thinking must come to the conclusion that this was really not a game. This was a very, very dangerous step, and the consequences might be seen in very few days and might be very bloody.
So has this killing, both the killing of Ismail Haniyeh as well as the killing of Fuad Shukr, divided public opinion in Israel?
No, Israel follows blindly anything that the army or the secret services are doing. There is still a way of adoring those organizations, even though their fiascos in the last year were enormous. And they just proved how incapable they are, even though so much money goes to them. Look at the 7th of October and look at the fiasco there. And still Israelis tend to believe in them and accept anything they do. And besides, I must tell you, killing Arabs and killing Palestinians is very popular in Israel after the 7th of October.
In other words, the country and public opinion have, so to speak, wrapped themselves in the flag. They are ignoring that this could be dangerous, as you said, explosive and irresponsible. They see it simply in patriotic terms.
Absolutely, and it's even almost unacceptable to put some doubt. Questions that you ask are not being asked in Israeli media, almost not being asked. Everyone just applauds to the really impressive way of operation. It was impressive. I mean, to do it both in Beirut and in Tehran within a few hours, it's really impressive. But, you know, also jumping to a certain height in the Olympic Games is very impressive. So what?
Quite right. Now, there is an interpretation that one of Prime Minister Netanyahu's main motivations was to scupper any immediate prospect of a ceasefire and prolong his own hold over the prime ministership. Because it was said a successful ceasefire would have led to elections, and that would have meant a change of government. To what extent do you agree with this view?
I agree to the first part of the question. I don't agree to the second. There cannot be any doubt that Netanyahu knew very well that once he approves those adventures, he risks any kind of chances of getting a deal, a ceasefire and release of the hostages. No doubt that his priority was to assassinate rather than to get to a ceasefire, to assassinate rather than to release the hostages or those who are still alive. About this, nobody can have any doubts. The question is, what is his motivation? I'm not sure. And here, unlike my other friends in the opposition or so-called, I'm not sure it's only about his survival. Sure, it is about his survival. But I think also he doesn't believe in any kind of deals or agreements with the Palestinians. He never did. He did anything possible to sabotage the two-state solution until he totally destroyed the chances for it. And for the very same reasons, because he doesn't believe in any kind of agreement with the Palestinians. He doesn't trust them. He doesn't want to base Israel on treaties, only on military power, only on the sword. And that's a continuous of this ideology of his. By the way, I must tell you that if there will be elections, I don't exclude the possibility that he might be re-elected. Don't exclude it. It's not very clear yet.
But is there a sense in which, by killing Haniyeh and killing Fuad Shukr, Benjamin Netanyahu has put his own personal interests or the interests of his government ahead of what you perceive as Israel's national interest?
I guess it's both. It's very hard to separate, and it's very hard to get into his heart, to his brain. I guess it is both.
Now, Iran has committed itself to what it calls an effective retaliation, whilst at the same time saying it doesn't want to escalate the war. How do the Israeli people view this? Are they apprehensive and nervous, or are they reassured that Iran will not escalate?
No, there is a real fear in those days, both from Iran and Hezbollah. Hezbollah might even be more aggressive, and Hezbollah has less restraints than Iran and has less what to lose. Iran has a lot to lose. So there is a great concern in those days in Israel. Atmosphere is very heavy. People are quite scared. There's no panic, but people are quite scared from what will happen in 1 hour, in 2 hours, in 1 day, in 2 days. Everyone knows that something will happen. The only question is how big and painful will it be?
So the Israeli people are torn between two conflicting emotions. One, a sense of pride for the successful killing of Haniyeh and Fuad Shukr, but also a sense of fear, a sense of apprehension about what will now happen to us.
I'm not sure there is so much pride. Those days are over. Maybe the secret services are proud. I'm not sure regular Israelis are so proud about it because they had those assassinations for years. What I'm not sure is that Israelis make the linkage. I think for them, the dangers that we are facing now are inevitable. For them, it's a force majeure. For them, it's not in our hands at all, which is totally false, obviously. But most of Israelis will tell you that's our fate. That's our fate. They're like an earthquake. We can't do anything about it.
So it's a sort of resignation. It's a sort of resignation.
Yes, absolutely. And disconnection from reality.
Now, the Israeli Defense Forces have been at war against Hamas in Gaza for exactly 10 months to the day today. I would imagine that they are both exhausted and perhaps, at least in some cases, running short of weapons. How do your generals view the possibility of a sharp regional escalation because of the killings?
They differ. Not all of them say the same. Everyone understands that the main role, if it will be a regional war, it will be a war of rockets and missiles and airplanes. Israel is not going to penetrate into Iran. Iran is not going to conquer Israel. And same for Hezbollah. So it will be the main task will be on the shoulders of the Air Force. And the Air Force, until now, had a small share in Gaza because attacking Gaza is a game for them. I mean, what is it to bomb refugee camps? You don't face any kind of danger. You can bomb them as much as you can. You don't face any challenge by bombing heavily populated civilian areas like they did in Gaza. Destroying Gaza is not a challenging job for an Air Force. So they are relatively more ready for another war or a wider war. I'm not sure that other generals are very enthusiastic about it. But finally, it will be about Netanyahu to decide, and I think he had made his decision.
Where does the present situation, Mr. Levy, leave the hostages? Am I right in saying that prospects of their return anytime soon have considerably dimmed? And for all his rhetoric, does Netanyahu care? And what is the response of public opinion?
The hostages from day one are very low in his priorities. And people realize it now more than ever because if you needed the proof, those two assassinations were the proof. I mean, you don't kill the negotiator. Ismail Haniyeh was the negotiator. If you murder him, you don't mean to get to an agreement. I mean, every child of 6 will tell you this. So it's very clear that they are very low in his priorities. It's not like he doesn't want them to be released, but they are very low in his priorities.
And how does Israeli public opinion respond to that?
Divided as usual. Those who are protesting every Saturday evening against Netanyahu, those who do anything possible to bring elections and to replace him, are obviously very, very frustrated. The hostages' families are extremely frustrated and desperate. And Netanyahu's fans, as I said, follow him blindly, whatever he decides and whatever he does.
Now, against this background, we're 3 months away from the American presidential election. Let me ask you first, What would a Trump victory mean for Netanyahu, as well as for members of his government like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich?
I think that's the biggest hope of Netanyahu. He hopes, and I'm not sure it will be true, not only he hopes that Trump will be re-elected, which goes without saying. He was in Washington, as you know, a few weeks ago, and he did anything possible to demonstrate his support to Donald Trump. And he did anything possible to express his criticism about the Biden administration, and especially and personally about Kamala Harris after their meeting. But I'm not sure that even Netanyahu knows how will Donald Trump react. We don't know. Donald Trump is an unexpected politician. He has no sentiments about Israel, unlikely Biden, who has deep sentiments about Israel and Zionism. Donald Trump has no sentiments about anything except of money and himself. And I guess that he might be surprised, Netanyahu. Right now, he believes that Trump will let Israel continue to go wild, will support Israel, will arm Israel, will finance Israel as much as it needed, and maybe even more. And that's the great hope of Netanyahu.
In which case, let me ask you, how is the possibility of a Kamala Harris presidency viewed in Israel? Not only did she skip Netanyahu's address to Congress, but publicly after she met him, she said she would not be silent. Has that possibility that she might win caused concern in government circles in Jerusalem?
In Netanyahu circles, yes. In his fans, surely. But if you ask me, for example, I don't have too many expectations even from her. We are really tired. I'm tired of candidates who promised to change America's policy toward Israel and never did. If Barack Obama, whose heart was so much in the right place, did nothing about changing the policy toward Israel, I can't believe that a relatively weak, new elected president will have the guts, and you need some guts for this, and the power to change its policy toward Israel, and at least to turn into a conditioned financing and arming and political support, and not this unconditioned way that all the administrations treated Israel. I'll be very surprised if she will change. Talkings before the election is one thing, and then facing all the pro-Israeli, very powerful organizations in the United States will be another thing.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me. Let me, before we end, Mr. Levy, put a couple of questions to you about the Palestine people and the Palestinian situation. You're both known and admired for your strong, outspoken, and moral positions. What is the future facing the Palestinian people today? Is there any silver lining on the horizon for them, or is it really just bleak and dark?
Unfortunately, I cannot see any source of hope for them from any direction. You know, they tried everything. They tried diplomacy. They tried military struggle. They tried resistance. They tried boycotting. They tried obeying. I mean, they tried everything. The world is quite hypocritic about them, and the Arab world as well. They are divided like never before. They lack leadership. They have no leadership whatsoever. Most of the Palestinians lost any kind of trust and faith, neither in Hamas nor in Fatah. They are sick and tired. They know they have no one to protect. And an average Palestinian who lives today in Gaza or mainly in the West Bank knows that there is no one in the world who can protect him. Nothing. Not the international community who pays some lip service, but not much more than lip service and humanitarian aid. But that's not enough for them. And for sure not their own leadership, and for sure not Israel. So despair is the name of the game now. The only optimistic sentence I can express is that many times the darkest part of the night is the part before dawn comes. So maybe we have to go through, but right now it's very dark for them. Very, very dark. I can't see a scenario in which their national problem is going to be solved in the coming years or decades. I cannot think about a scenario. Who is going to conduct?
What about the situation on the West Bank? With 700,000 settlers, maybe more, is a two-state solution now a practical impossibility?
Long time ago, not now, long time ago. It's the biggest bluff that everyone sticks to it because it's very convenient to stick. So the PA sticks to it, and the EU sticks to it, and the Americans stick to it, and almost all countries in the world, including your own country. Everyone supports the two-state solution when almost everyone knows that it's unachievable anymore, and that this train left the station and will never come back. As you rightly said, 700,000 Jewish settlers will never be evacuated. And without their evacuation, you have a Bantustan, you don't have a viable Palestinian state. And if you don't have a viable Palestinian state, you didn't solve anything. But leaving this solution and realizing and admitting that it is an impossible one takes a lot of courage because the consequences are quite heavy. And therefore, nobody dares to say it, but they all know it. And this bluff must be torn. This bluff must be exposed. There is no room for a Palestinian state, and there will never be. And the only solution, the only just solution, is the one-state solution. The one state exists now for over 55 years. The only problem is it's not a democracy. The only thing we have to do is to change its regime from a state with Jewish supremacy into a state of democracy, of equal rights, of one person, one vote. That's the only solution left. There is no other solution. It's either a democracy or an apartheid state forever.
Let me put to you the impression the audience will get from the answers you've just given. The Palestinians are caught between deniability, a complete denial that a two-state solution is possible. They hanker after it, they believe it's possible, but as you said, it's not. So this is an illusion. And on the other hand, they're caught in a state of utter hopelessness. They're literally caught between hopelessness and denial.
I'd like to correct you with your kind permission. Not all of them believe in the two-state solution. Not all of them ever believed it. Hamas, for example, never believed in it. The Palestinian left never believed in it. It's only the Fatah and the PA, the Palestinian Authority, who believes in it. And they stick to it because they are very scared from the alternative. The alternative means no Palestinian state, like it means no Jewish state. This is very heavy for both peoples to lose this chance of self-determination. I don't say the way is easy, but there is nothing else left. So the Palestinians, they just want freedom now. They don't mind. I think that most of them couldn't care less if it will be one state or two states. Just give us our right. Give us some citizenship. Those people don't have any citizenship of any state in the world. I think they are the only people in the world without citizenship. Give them their rights. Give them any kind of rights that you can imagine yourself that any average Indian has, they lack.
Finally, Mr. Levy, in your opinion, has 7th October 2023 helped and advanced the Palestinian cause? Or was it a setback and a mistake? Or at the end of the day, when history is written, did it simply make no difference at all?
You have to repeat the question because the connection was stuck in the middle.
Absolutely. Finally, in your opinion, has 7th October 2023 helped and advanced the Palestinian cause? Or was it a setback and mistake? Or when history is eventually written, will people say it made no real difference at all?
It was a terrible mistake for the fate of the people of Gaza. They paid a hell of a price. We cannot ignore it. As individuals, as human beings, as people in need, as people in a cage, locked for 18 years now. It was a dramatic, fatal mistake done deliberately by their leadership, who did not take care of the consequence. So from this point of view, it was a horrible mistake. Historically, it will not change much. They were hopeless before the 7th of October, and they are hopeless after the 7th of October. I don't see how they are getting to their rights unless the international community will wake up and turn from talkings to actions. But this doesn't seem to happen.
My last question. In the circumstances that we've discussed, how do you view the elevation of Yahya Sinwar to the new political head of Hamas in place of Haniyeh? What impact will that have both on Hamas and also on the way the Israeli government views Hamas and responds to Hamas?
I don't think it will have many meanings because Yahya Sinwar is locked in a tunnel somewhere. He cannot really operate more than he does. He cannot go out, he cannot come out. I believe he will not die naturally, and he will not survive for long. And therefore, I don't think this has a lot of meaning. It has a symbolic, but only symbolic meaning. In any case, Israel refuses to sit and to discuss with Hamas further than the hostages question and the ceasefire question. It's not a real partner for peace in the eyes of Israel. So I don't see any significance who will lead Hamas unless it will be a real reformist who will change the policy of Hamas. But this, in a fundamentalistic religious organization, can hardly happen.
Mr. Levy, thank you very much for the time you've given me. Take care, stay safe.
Thank you so much for having me, and we'll talk again, I promise.
I look forward to that enormously. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch The Interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.